What's going on, everybody? God bless. Um, Welcome to another episode of G3TV. Today, I'm truly honored to be sitting here with two positive influences in the community, not just here in Cumberland County, but as well as, through the whole state of New Jersey and even Philadelphia. So I'm going to introduce these gentlemen, and we're going to get right into today's topic and the amazing things that they're doing, the things that they have planned for the community, and how all of this came to be about. Okay, so first is Alexander Byrd. He's an outreach coordinator for Cumberland County Library. Also, he is the youth pastor at my church, the Hub in Vineland, New Jersey. So, amazing man. Happy that you're here with me.
I appreciate that.
Definitely. I also have to the right of me is Jondhi Harrell. He is also an amazing man doing some amazing things in the community. He's the program manager for the Fresh Start at your library for the state of New Jersey. He's also the executive director for the TRC Community Healing Center, and that's out of Philly, correct?
It's out of Philly.
Okay, great. So both these men are, as y'all know, like I said, Pastor Alex, Alex, for those that don't know, he is a part of the ministry that I'm a part of, so we connected through that. We have, some years together. I've been knowing him, but he was able to connect me with Jondhi, and, we had the same common interest. So the fact of the matter is, when we collaborated together, it was right. You know what I'm saying? All the pieces came together and they fit together. So what I'm going to do is, like I always do, is let these men, this is their show, they're going to tell a little bit about their story, where they came from, how they came to doing what they're doing today, and then from there, the collaboration and where it all began. You know what I'm saying? So I'll start off first with Pastor Alex. Alex, you can go ahead.
What's going on, y'all? Quick shout out to Wi-Fi and Hotspot. Woo woo!
Come on now.
Know how to put you on blast. Hey man, it's a blessing to be here, Mal. I thank you for having me here today. As well, giving us a chance to go ahead and just talk about what we're doing with, right now with the library, and not just at the library, but what we're doing in our community. It's a very important thing that we're doing. But first and foremost, just background-wise, I'm from Vineland. Really, I'm from all over the country. Grew up in multiple states, different stages of my life, but we always ended up finding our way back to Vineland somehow, whether it was just visiting home or just coming back to live. I always ended up back in Vineland. Right now, I currently live in Bridgeton, and it's been a little bit different since when I grew up in Bridgeton. When I grew up in Bridgeton, things were, I think everybody can agree they were slightly different. Even down to housing in certain areas, I think they were really flourishing at that time as early Bridgeton was coming along. Early Bridgeton for me is like 90, so I know for others it's way back, and they've seen it young. Totally different thing, right? But to be honest, I was well involved in this community more in my teenage years. I got to see a lot and connect with a lot of people through youth groups, actually, when I was in youth groups and things like that. So I know what the communities have had to offer. I know what's been in the community since I was a youth and since before I was a youth, just through generational stuff, hearing stuff through parents. But during those times when I was in youth, I was able to develop a passion for community. We learned a very great thing. We had something called like Invasion back in the day, where we would gather with other churches, and we would all come into one church, and we would invade our communities, and we would spread the word of God. We'd feed people, we'd pray, we'd do all these really awesome things. But the biggest value of that was community. And later on, I ended up joining the military. which, believe it or not, you learn a lot about community there too, depending on where you are in the world. I had the opportunity to be stationed in Hawaii. We did some stuff in Japan, and I definitely saw a lot of diversity during that time. Got into a lot of foolish things in that time too. You know, a lot of people kind of think that when you get into the military that everything is pretty square and narrow, but you can get in trouble right where you're at over there too. It doesn't matter where you are. You can be a knucklehead anywhere. You know what I'm saying? But more importantly, as I experienced certain things and got affiliated with certain things, which I'm sure we'll dive into, I came back home and I knew within my community that there was still a difference to be made, that everything I had learned from around the world, from both growing up all over the place and then continuing to be all over the world, I wanted to bring back some of the knowledge I gained from the military and other experiences and other walks in life. So as I came back, I went to school, went to Wilmington, Delaware, studied psychology, and then I went on to land a job at Cumberland County Library. And it was an interesting selection because the position was more or less designed to help those, during this time it was a grant, and it was called Career Connections. Kept thinking I wasn't going to remember the name such a while ago. It was called Career Connections, and the whole premise or purpose of it was to connect those and help those who are going through re-entry to get reintegrated back into the community, to feel like they had a place, to feel like they belong, and get them some work. Because really, when individuals are returning home, whether it be from the military or from jail, it doesn't matter where you're coming from, you need work. Everybody needs something to a sustainability, if you will. So when I first took on the position, I was happy just to have a job in my community and have something given back too. But the more I delved into the position, I began to see that there was a massive lack, that there was a lack of help, which, while everybody put their best foot forward in their own way, when you don't have unity in that, when there is no unison in that help, you can see you can still find a lack of help, even though there's so many different revenues of help all around. If it's not all conducive, then you have an issue. So while I was a part of this grant, it was awesome. It did come to an end, which I was hired to stay on board and help out anyway, and continue on as not just a library associate, but I did a lot with career consulting and helping individuals find jobs, and not just jobs, find the right positions where they should be. That's one thing. You can be a hard worker but end up in a bad place because you're somewhere where you shouldn't be. Right. You're in a place and you're wondering why every day is miserable. Well, you gotta have a heart for what you do. So being where I was with the library, I was able to develop my own skills as well and develop my passion to help individuals, to help people. And right around the same time, I began to get into being a youth pastor, and I even got a further sense of development of community, because now here I am. These are the next generations coming up, and if anybody knows anything, you always want to steward those who are coming up, because they're going to be the ones that are taking care of it when you're done. They're next up, and so you want to steward them and give them what you got. You want to pour into them those skills that maybe not all kids are going to receive just from watching their parents. Some don't want to walk the path of their parents, and it's not a bad thing. We all have our own skills to be honed and pulled out of us. So as a youth pastor and as someone who works at a library, I'm able to see different skills and different traits that I can hone in on and say, hey, let's develop these skills. If you're lacking in an area and you feel like you're not getting ahead in life, well, let's see what you're good at, and let's pull out the best in that, and let's see how you can make that work for you. Because when you have a skill and you let that work and speak for itself, it puts you in higher places. It puts you with those you're supposed to be around, who can learn and benefit from what you're good at. And that's biblical, right? It's in the Word. We know that. So within the past 3 years, today actually yesterday marked 3 years of working at this job, and And I couldn't be happier, because now we're coming into a place where not only have I made connections and networked with individuals and rubbed shoulders with people that can really be of service, here I am sitting in a place where, you know, who knows if we would have ever crossed paths, or if we would have crossed paths in the right way. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's great to be sitting here with some men that are forward thinkers, and not just in a small way, in a concentric way, where they think, well, I want to take what I have and let it radiate outwardly. And that's what community is all about. What a wrong choice could impact a community negatively, but the right one can reform it. So at the library right now, where as I pass this off to Jondhi, he's going to touch base on Fresh Start and how that's impacting our community here in Cumberland County. But one thing I do want to kind of say here: if you have family or friends, or you know those who are returning citizens, and I mean coming home from prison, coming home from jail, make sure that you're putting them onto the same abilities and the skill sets, and inviting them in. You know, open your doors. We have this. I think there's a common I won't say irrational. There's a fear out there that individuals are going to come out, and they're coming out for the worst. When in reality, a lot of individuals won't go that route if you give them a chance and show them and give help where they seek it, and be patient and understanding to want to help those individuals. So for those that have family coming back, for those that are with family now that just need your patience and understanding, give it to them. Give it to them. Give it to them 100 times over. Even when you feel tired and worn out and feel like, man, when are they going to get it? Push anyway. Give anyway. Because when they finally get to that place where they can get right and pull themselves up, and they get right, they're going to come back, and they're going to remember you. And at the end of the day, their kids and their families are going to remember you and remember all the good you did. And really, we don't do this for remembrance or namesake. We do this because it's what's right. That's what you should do.
Now, man, you just wanted to close out the show? You know what I'm saying? Like, that was definitely not a closeout, but we still got a lot more to go. A lot more.
Right on.
But that was amazing. Now, definitely, we're going to touch base a little bit more with that. You know, I just want, everybody to get an understanding of how important these men didn't just come from, one day decide, you know what, this is a job, I'm going to do it, and this is where we going, you know what I'm saying, and that's right. It. Their past reflects on who they are today and their future. That's right. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, we'll touch more base with everything you were talking about, especially with what the actual Cumberland County Library does offer, because I told y'all both a couple of days ago, only time I was in the library was if my kids needed me to do a book report or something. Didn't know that there was things offering other than that. So, Jondhi, you can actually go ahead from there. Tell us a little bit about your story, who you are, where you came from, and we'll go and get a little bit more insight.
Okay. So I think that it's important, as we talk about our life's work and where we're going, we observe how we got there. Mm-hmm. Alex has just talked about, his coming to the Army and the things he learned that led him to this point in time. But the basis of what he said is, how can he serve community? How can he build community? And that's important regardless of the journey that we took to get where we are now.
That's right.
For those who know Melvin, they know that he came to this point in time, and is inspired to create Gangsters Gone Godly through his lifestyle and his former gangster life. And now he's at a point in life where his focus is community. And my story is very similar, because I was a gangster, a bank robber. My whole flow was anti-community and for self, or for those who I viewed as my insular community. My family, my friends, those in my social circle, but I really had no consciousness of the greater community. And I didn't really begin to attain that mindset until I was in the penitentiary, and I came into contact with Dr. Matul Shakur, who many folks would know as the stepfather of Tupac Shakur, but he's much more than that. He's an African elder. He is a force of nature who literally created what we call the circle of consciousness. So inside the penitentiary in which we lived, he created an association of brothers who were determined to change their lives. Now, for those who have been in the penitentiary, you know that there are various ways to bit, and everybody does it differently. But those who do it best have come to the realization that this is not the lifestyle they want to keep living. Apart from their wives and their children and their neighborhoods and their community. And no matter how much money you make in the street, no matter how well you're doing, it's a short-term proposition. At any given time, the feds or the county or the state is going to run down on you, and your life is effectively over. And all those who you thought you were impacting, that comes to an end. So it's temporal, it's not real. It's really an illusion. So we began to work on self.
That's right.
Doctors say that the revolution begins within, and that's reality. In order for you to impact other people, your family, your community, those who you care about, you have to start with yourself. You have to look in the mirror and say, this is not who I'm supposed to be. And the things that I've done in the past are not the things that I want to repeat. And how can I build a life that's going to be beneficial to those who I care about? And that starts with gaining knowledge. You can't become wise, you can't become an effective communicator, a leader, and influencer of other people unless you take in knowledge yourself.
That's right.
So what we did was read and hold classes and discourse and learn. We became the intellectuals inside of the prison. And that could translate to when we came out of prison. So I came out of prison 11 years ago. I came back to Philadelphia and looked around me, and I thought to myself, there's a lot of work that needs to be done here in the community. But in order for me to do that effectively, I've got to follow my dream, but how can I structure my dream? It's one thing to sit in a prison cell and to plan, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to create change. It's quite another thing to come out and effectively do it in the street. So I looked around at the organizations that were functioning, and I first got a job with Goodwill Industries. A lot of folks don't realize that Goodwill Industries across the nation, in addition to helping folks who are disabled, they help folks who are formerly incarcerated. They have whole programs geared toward employment, education, school, advanced learning, college degrees, and I bought into that. I worked with them for a while. Then I moved to Gaudensia, which was a organization that dealt with drug abuse. Worked for them for a couple of years. And then when I got my bachelor's, I worked for Pathways to Housing. So I worked for 3 strong organizations that really helped me to see, how do I deal with folks who are formerly incarcerated, like myself, how to deal with folks who are coming out of a lifetime of addiction, and how do I help folks who have a housing problem? They're homeless. So from those 3 organizations, I put together my own organization, the Center for Returning Citizens, and moved that forward. And I was able to create an organization that was similar to the union we had in prison. In prison, we created a family because you're apart from your family. In order for you to function well, you need brothers and uncles and cousins and sons and nephews.
That's right.
You need folks who you can mentor, and you also need folks who can teach you.
That's right.
And you come together and you function as a family unit that's independent of your family on the street because you can't impact them in the way that you want to. but at the same time, you are creating a reservoir of experience that you can then transmit to folks when you come to the street.
That's good.
And that's what TCRC sought to do. We sought to find employment, housing, but most of all to help people cultivate a mindset that said, I'm never going back to prison. I'm through eating commissary food. I don't want to work out in the yard no more. I want to work out at Planet Fitness or
Right.
something like that. You know, I don't want to hold my children in the visiting room. I want to create a life
My God.
where I can be a part of their life. I used to teach parenting classes in prisons. And one of the first classes, in fact, the very first class when you come into my class, I would say, it's impossible for you to be a good father behind bars. Why? Because what is a father? Someone who's there every day,
Come on.
taking care of his wife, taking care of his children, doing all the small things that make fatherhood so special.
Wow.
So since you can't be that kind of father, I'm going to teach you how to be the best father possible. And that's how we looked at all the activities that we did behind bars. Yes, our life is limited, but within the confines of this life, we're going to build the best possible structure. So when I came home, it was easy to take that mindset and translate it to all the things that we did on the street. Then several years ago, I was blessed to come into contact with Peggy Cadigan and the New Jersey State Library, and they appreciated the work I was doing in Philadelphia. Now, many times, and this is true, and formerly incarcerated people who are active in leadership will verify this, there's so many colleges and universities and organizations that seek to suck your experience out of you. And they want you to give them insight into reentry. How do I deal with formerly incarcerated people? You know, what can I do to make my organization work? They aren't trying to pay you.
Come on.
They aren't trying to compensate you. They're just trying to pick your brain for their own benefits.
Teach, man. Come on.
And they'll invite you to be on panels and, you know, universities, you know, and they might give you a little, you know, a $300 honorarium like they're doing something big.
Come on, man.
That's bullshit. You know, they're trying to trade all the years that I spent working in the prison for their own benefit. But the New Jersey State Library wasn't like that. They invited me over. They were working on a grant. And they said, if you were going to create a program that could impact returning citizens in New Jersey, what would it look like? And we worked together to try to structure that. Then when they got to $600,000, they called me and said, apply for the job. We want you to run this. And that was the difference. You know, people who not only appreciated your skill, your intellect, and your knowledge, but said, I'm going to give you a serious salary, and you're going to run this. And that's what happened. I am the program manager for Fresh Start at Your Library, which is a statewide program which functions in 6 counties in New Jersey and Philadelphia County. Patterson, Newark, Long Branch, Trenton, Cumberland County, and Atlantic City. And in each library, we're trying to create an oasis, a place for folks who, when they come home, they can call it home.
Come on.
And the reason this is so dynamic and vital is because if everybody who has been incarcerated, you know that the library was the intellectual center of the jail. Everybody who could think was in the library.
That's right.
Even a lot of those who couldn't think, but were trying to learn how to think, would go to the library. The education department was the intellectual center of the jail in the same way that the chapel was the heartbeat of the prison. You know, those who wanted to change their lives on a spiritual level, whose heart was leading them toward God in so many different ways, whether it was the mosque or the chapel, or it didn't matter what religious denomination you were, The chapel was a place that welcomed everybody with a good heart. And the library is a place that welcomed everybody with a good mind. So for folks to come out of prison and to come to the library for their reentry, it's a natural phenomenon. Because the library is not only a safe space for us, it's a space we're used to, it's a space that we respect, it's a space that nurtured our mind and our bodies and soul at a time when that's all we had, when there was nothing else. So I'm very proud to be a part of the Fresh Start of the Library. For those who live in Cumberland County, Alex is my partner at the library, and when you come there, you're going to receive the best possible help. And for everybody in the state of New Jersey who has families of formerly incarcerated people, look at the Fresh Start Your Library program as your program, and very shortly, 2,500 to 3,500 prisoners are going to be released across New Jersey due to COVID-19.
That's right.
And Fresh Start and the different library centers and other organizations like the Department of Labor and the Parole Board are focused on the success. You aren't being released to go back to prison.
Let's go.
You are being released to craft and create a new life for yourself and for your families, and we're going to be there to help you.
That's right.
That's amazing. See, and this is exactly the reason why I brought these men here today, because I'm gonna break it down a little bit. A lot of you guys that know me know my from the television shows I've done in the past, this show as well, testimonies here and there. I was that guy that they're talking about. I was the guy that, you know, like Jondhi, I served several years, more than 2/3 of my life in prison. And I educated myself throughout the library. I got all the education that I received inside the library. I learned how to get a reduction of sentence. You know, I know how to write a habeas corpus, which for y'all that don't know, it'll get me back into court. You know what I'm saying? I learned how to do everything inside the library, the law library in particular, inside the prison. When I came home, though, I didn't utilize any of that. You know, I came home, I went by what they told me when I got released was, okay, you have this resource, this resource, and that resource. Now go out there and do it. That was it. You gave me a paper with a printout of all these different addresses. 90% of those addresses, and it's not to say anything against these organizations or these businesses or these avenues that were given to me, but funding became an issue, so they would get shut down. You know, they didn't, you know, they couldn't keep the doors open. They didn't have the manpower to keep it running. We're talking about a library, a free library. And never once did I think to go into the library to look for a resource to help me get to, you know, what I needed to do a fresh start, you know. So, you know, there was a time when I did come home from prison, 7 months after being home. Didn't want to change, you know, catch a new case. Didn't want to get in no more trouble. Was tired of it, but I wanted to go back to prison because this is all I knew. I was so institutionalized. There was nothing better for me. And when I was in prison, I was educated. I was a paralegal. I had everything going for me. People coming to me, asking me questions. Out in the world, I had nothing. So, you know, with something like this program that these gentlemen, how I connected with them, and let me get into that real quick. And again, this isn't about me or anything about me, but I am a part of this story because at the end of the day, I'm actually now a part of this whole organization that they're doing to try and better people. And
folks need to know who you are. You know,
that's
right. Tell them who you are.
Yeah. I'm Melvin Negron. I'm a former gang member that, again, spent more than 2/3 of my life inside the prison. I'm actually...
But you're more than just a gang member.
Yeah.
Tell them who you are. You're a gang what?
I was the leader of the second largest gang in the world, the Latin Kings.
Okay.
For 21 years out of that 28. And like I said, I've been doing time since 11 years old. You know, and then before that, I was imprisoned in my home. Let's put it that way. I came from a very abusive home. So my story can go on. I got a book out. Let's put it that way.
And he got a rack of videos, and I'm gonna send you a link.
Go get that.
But again, so understand something. Like, I honestly didn't know where to turn, and I always thought prison was meant for me, and that was it. That's my life. That's all it's gonna amount to. Thank God, people believed in me, people encouraged me, and people told me, you know, they gave me the love and the attention that I guess I was seeking my entire life to guide me into doing what I needed to do, you know. And my brother in particular, he wasn't trying to hear that. My brother actually went ahead and, you know, spoke against that. He rebuked that, you know, and that's how I met Pastor Alex. Actually, I ended up coming to the church that he was a part of, you know, and little by little, pieces of the puzzle started coming together. You know, what's crazy is that from both these gentlemen here, they talked about, you know, empowering. They both talked about re-entry. They both talked about, you know, education. You know, when I started Gangsters Gone Godly 3 years ago, my mission statement, you know, and I'm bad with memory, so I'm going to actually read it to you verbatim. It's called Second Chances. And Gangsters Gone Godly is an organization focused on helping to empower, strengthen our communities through preventative care, re-entry back into society through education, employment, and of course faith. You know, that was all before these two. You know what I'm saying? That was all before we got connected. But see, there was a bigger plan here.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? There was something that was ordained way before. I started this organization, again, myself and Pastor Vic, because this is what we wanted to do. We wanted to help people that felt like us when we came home. You know what I'm saying? That didn't have nowhere to turn. Not knowing that there were resources out there. And again, you know, how long you been doing this, Jondhi?
11 years on the street.
Okay.
27 years altogether.
Okay, and how long has
18
it been the
years
Fresh
in the
Start?
joint. The Fresh Start just started last year.
Okay, last year. All right. And then the other organization that you're a part of?
9 years.
Okay. So, and how long you been doing this, Alex?
Working with the library 3 years, just past 3 years.
Okay. So, I've been home 3 years. I came home in 2017. These were things that were there, and these men already had this going on. You know what I'm saying? Whether it was something established or it was something that the direction they were heading in.
Evolving.
Yeah. So me, you know, not knowing this, you know, I was like, well, I'm going to be original. I'm going to come out with an idea of wanting to do this. But it wasn't about me, because at the end of the day, this never has been about me. It's about wanting to just give people a chance to see what they can accomplish. How people can actually, we don't have to go back. We don't have to be the statistic of, wow, he spent so much time in prison, you know, he's going to be the norm to keep going back to prison. Mm-hmm. You know, he came from the projects, he's going to be the norm not to get out of the projects. You know, he came from this life of drugs and, you know, gangbanging, that he's going to keep going back. Nah, we don't have to do that.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Or he's going to the cemetery.
Exactly.
That's where we go.
And that's exactly
To
what
the
it is.
walls of the cemetery.
Listen, I tell people all the time, and I'm going to tell it to you like this, you know, we talk about prophetic acts and things that happen, you know, throughout life. We glorified, as street hoods, gangsters, whatever, we glorified the movie Scarface. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I had the right to say that, but we glorified it. I know I did.
Scarface was an all-time movie, bro.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Even now I watch Scarface. You know?
But you
Even
think
though I'm past that life.
But you think about it. that movie told you the story of how it's going to end.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
As beautiful as it was, picture the timeline of that movie. That was maybe a good 2 years of running the streets.
Yeah, really.
Versus a whole lifetime of struggle.
And there was no possible way it was going to end well.
No.
None.
Nope.
None. And it tells you, a movie that we glorify, it told you that it's going to end like this. You're going to end up dead. You're going to end up in prison. You know, however you want to look at it, it didn't have a good ending. You know?
Not at all.
That's what the streets offer. But what these guys offer is an opportunity to change all that. You know? I'm truly honored and blessed that this past Tuesday, I was invited to sit down with these gentlemen and some other people to talk about reentry, to talk about, what is out there, what we can do to make the change, to be the difference, and trust me, it's an honor. No matter what y'all know about me, everything I have going on in my life today is truly a blessing, but that's an honor. So I'm gonna let them, between the two of them, go back and forth explaining this, because you guys are what brought me to this point. You know what I'm saying? So whoever wants to talk a little bit more about what's going on and how it started, I'm more than happy.
Well, if I could speak from the standpoint of Cumberland County, right, in general, this is the county I've had the heart and the passion to serve, and given the platform, thank you. I'm able to say, God gave me the vision over what was going to come for this county, and this was before certain grants started rolling in. Even coming in on the grant that I was working with, it was designed well, I should say. It meant well. The intent was well. But I should say there was no structure. The structure just wasn't there, and we knew that because it ended before it was supposed to. And a lot of stuff got done. We got a lot done, and there was there were people working on that before I got there. There was someone else who was on the grant and working the grant before I, got in. However, there was more, and when Fresh Start came along and we started looking over the parameters, it was like, oh, this is it. This one has,
So you guys were connected through the Fresh Start coming into this.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Here's what's funny. I don't even know if you're aware of this.
Yeah.
But I don't know if Jondhi is aware of this. But when this all came together, there was a point where, coming out of a certain grant, right, and I've been working, this position actually opened up, and I went to this task force meeting. And it was a lot of influential people in the room, a lot of state officials, and they were all saying great things. But there was a point that came along where, as I'm listening, on my job, I've been boots on the ground for a little bit at this point. Like, running on 2 years, I'm boots on the ground. Mm-hmm. So I'm listening to all these things they're saying, and none of them are matching the heart of the people I'm serving.
Right.
Like, the needs that are being talked about were just kind of like that. We've been dealing with that like months ago. We're not even, this is a different phase now. Mm-hmm. And it was rubbing me, I was trying to be quiet, because I was sent there actually on behalf of my director. My director had me go take her spot, and because she had trusted by then that I was able to go take notes and do whatever. So I'm listening, and it gets to a point where someone physically says, if somebody could just say something. I'm tired of hearing my own voice. This woman, she's a great woman, works with the state parole board. She says, I just wish somebody would speak up. Right. And I'm bubbling, so I'm like, okay. And I just start talking about really the reality. Right. We're talking about all these big plans, big things, and we don't have any infrastructure. People are hurting on the lower level, because all the big things, like all the grand scheme of things, is cool, but there's a lot of work foundational work that still needs to be laid. And a lot of the plans that they had were like blankets too, right? Like in addition to.
So it was like, say blankets, not to cut you off.
No.
When you
please.
say blankets,
yeah,
are you talking about blankets like they just covering? They're just a covering. They're not actually
They're
showing.
covering. They're not structured.
Right.
You understand?
So basically,
So what I was seeing was doing the groundwork. I was basically setting up tent poles. The work we're doing, we're getting the structure ready, and I'm sitting in meetings where they're talking about like the part where you apply the sheet over it, and I'm like, wait, we're not done. Like there's still things that need to be done. So I'm listening in this meeting. So Peggy happens to be in this meeting. This is how I meet Peggy, and she pulls me aside before I leave. You know, I got to get back to my boss. She pulls me aside. She's like, we're gonna go get coffee. I know your boss. We're gonna get coffee. I said, okay. Okay, that's fine. And I called my boss just to make sure. She said, oh, she says you're getting coffee. You're getting coffee. I said, okay. We sit down and we had like an hour-long conversation. It was a wonderful conversation, and I was astounded by the similarity in what we were seeing. And a little bit later, this position opens up, and they're telling me about this grant, and they're telling me about this. It was like a program coordinator, program manager position. So they're egging me. They're like, you should apply. I'm like, really? Like, okay. I'm like, all right, well, no harm in trying. I go out, right? And I felt it went well, and I'm at home, and I'm just praying. I'm like, Lord, if it's from you, let it be. If it's not, then, you know, whatever it is. I get a call like a little while later, a couple of days or so later, like, hey, look, the program manager, he's going to be coming in next week, right? This is how you find out. Are you good? I'm like, okay, no big deal, like whatever. But the moment she said, the program manager we went with, he's a phenomenal person, this and that, he knows the ins and outs. The first thing that came to my mind, mind you, I'm operating the Holy Spirit, right? First thing that comes to my mind is, wow, this must be some dude. Like, he must really know his stuff, right? And when we meet, and I'm just listening to him talk, and all the groundwork he's done, everything is really so well versed. I'm like, wow, like God knows what he was doing. See, had I gotten that position or moved in that position, I'd have been knocking on doors still. Knocking on doors, hey, who could help us build? Who could come in and help us get done what we need to get done? Versus someone who has keys. But my favorite thing about meeting Jondhi was, Jondhi wasn't just using those keys for anybody. Jondhi knew that those keys were coming at a certain time. Jondhi knew that there was still structure that needed to be done. And me seeing that, it inspired me to continue doing what I can do at a ground level. And I began pulling all my resources, all these individuals, and put together a stakeholder meeting. And some great things came out of that meeting. COVID put a pause on a lot of that. Yeah. But I'm not upset with what happened with that meeting, because two different meetings happened that day. There was a meeting of people who came in the room, heard great ideas, and we're going to pull their resources to get things done. And then there was a meeting that was happening in the supernatural. And there were things where the right spirits who needed to be in that room that day, like-minded individuals, were able to connect and make. See, I know that these individuals are going to come back later when the time is right, and they're going to be able to be a part or have a part in that covering that goes over the structure we're building right now. But see, as individuals are being released, I know that when they come home, they have something to come home to, and they have like-minded people ready to serve. See, I've been dealing with something, you know, and I don't mean to be controversial, and I won't go deep, but I've been dealing with things like these posts that are rubbing me the wrong way from individuals who truly are just disgruntled and have lost why they're serving, have lost the essence of why they do what they do. And that's easy to do, because I remember being in the military and counting down the days when I'm going to get out, because I'm like, I'm done. Like, I had experienced poor leadership. I experienced all these things, and I'm like, I'm good. Like, I'm ready to go home. I could have done that myself. Like, I'll go home.
I can't do this no more.
Right. Like, this is now. I'm doing less with all this red tape and stuff when I could be at home figuring something out. So, but I've been seeing these things where basically people are speaking from a place of fear. People who have access to full knowledge and wisdom are speaking from a place of fear and ignorance. And I keep seeing all this stuff, and you know, they're talking so much about policies and plans and how bad they are and this and that. And we're talking about people with lives. We're talking about people who, when they get out,
that's not to cut you off again.
No, please do.
That right there is a big thing. I honestly believe that people's agendas, aren't there isn't a passion behind it.
That's right.
Their initial intent was, I want to make a difference. I want to make a change.
Mm-hmm.
And then somewhere along the lines, they veered off. Right?
That's right.
And it became more
They
of
lost their mission.
Yeah. Now it's no longer a mission. Exactly. That's
right.
a perfect word for it.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's a job. It's a career. It's something that I want to do. But you know what? It's also to glorify me.
That's
You know what I'm saying? It's to glorify what I'm doing
That's
today.
how it started.
You know what I'm saying? What I like the most is that you said was fear. All right. This, to me, the main thing is that a lot of these guys are scared when they come home. A lot of these men and women come home from these institutions, not just prisons, but drug programs, whatever. They come home and they are walking in fear. You know what I'm saying? So when they're walking in fear and you got someone that's leading them in fear,
literally.
you get nowhere. It's not gonna. Nothing's gonna happen. Nothing is gonna be accomplished. But when you have, like you said, you have like-minded people.
That's right.
And then one of them actually is stepping up to the plate, not just being a leader, but being a mentor, being someone that can actually guide you the right way and has a passion.
That's right.
It's part of their life. It becomes part of their DNA.
That's right.
It's not just, you know what, I'm doing this so I can glorify, I can make my name, or I can get my business up or whatever. No, I was this guy. This was my life. I know what it's like to be here, and I didn't want to be there, and I don't want to see anybody else there. When I sat down with you guys on Tuesday, man, I'm thinking to myself, there was going to be a ton of people in that room. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I was thinking, like, I'm going to see all kinds of people from all over the state.
Nope.
Didn't see that many people there. But I seen the right people there.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
I seen the people that
And that's how it should have been.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Exactly. And that led to this here tonight. You
Most
know what I'm
definitely.
saying?
In short, I just want to say, at the library, when these individuals come home, right, they're going to be met with all their services to get the credentials done. So we're talking, ID, Social Security, whatever we can do from our computers and this and that, filling things out online, we'll be more than happy to do. Resume building skills, we're more than willing to do. All right. One thing we're not going to do is we're not going to mirror anyone's fears. We're not going to do that. We want them to come home to a place of stability and not a place that's unsettling.
Right.
A library is the place for that. A library is going to be people who understand that there's a wealth of wisdom out there that's just waiting to be handed out, and we're going to be ready to service that. The last thing I wanted to say about all this is, think of a library as exactly more of a, see, the operating system back in the day, right? When you would call and you needed to get plugged in somewhere, they would intercept your call, see where you needed to go, they pull you out, plug in where you need to go. The library operates much so.
He's seen it on TV.
Yeah. So the wisdom, reading books. See, but the library operates much more so like that now. And honestly, that's to those who need to know where to go, to those who need resources and need knowledge on that. That's what the library operates as now. You come with a question, we're there. We have a reference. We have all these individuals who specialize in this to help you, to serve the community, to say, hey, whatever need you have, if we don't got it, if we don't have the answer, I bet you we can find it real fast.
Okay.
So really, that's as far as the library, especially Cumberland County Library, come get your application, sign up for a library card. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free. You come in, sign up, and even though there's a pandemic right now, COVID's still going, we have the means and the capacity to still help people come in. We're letting people in at 16 people at a time, and they have about an hour long on the computer, depending on what they're doing. And in connection with Fresh Start at Your Library, we have services like right now we're sitting and we're gearing up to begin running GED courses.
Okay.
And be able to, we have about, at our at Cumberland County Library, we have 100 free, ready to go. So that's training, that is, you know what I mean, leading up to taking the actual GED, but that's going to be running fairly soon. So when these individuals come out, we're gearing up to be ready to go ahead and administer that. But in the meantime, when they come, you know, we want to encourage you, come and get your credentials and all that stuff taken care of. Don't sit, don't wait, and don't worry about who's going to be waiting for you and what kind of attitude they're going to have. When you come to Cumberland County Library, you're going to be met with open arms. You're going to be met with people who are there to say, you know what, we see where you're at and we want to meet your need. That's what you're going to be met with.
And now, that's okay. So that's great. So we have the actual where to go.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And what the Cumberland County Library does offer. So that's definitely a key point. Guys,
aside from books and all that,
exactly,
which, you know, it's not just books anymore.
And that's the thing, is someone like me that, like I said, came home, didn't know the library had all these resources. Now, one of the main resources and why we're here tonight too, and why we had the meeting, was the Fresh Start. You know, tell us a little bit about what Fresh Start does and what they offer in the library.
So, Fresh Start is not just a program. It's a state of mind.
That's right.
It's philosophy. It's an attitude. It's a place to begin and say, I'm going to get a fresh start in my life, and I'm going to do it the right way.
Come on.
I'm going to lay the foundation for it.
Come on.
I'm going to do the necessary work to build the structure. You know, if you're building a house, you don't start with the windows or the roof. You start with the foundation. You lay the foundation, raise the walls, and you build a structure that's going to last, that you can live in, function in, and provide a good life for your family. That's what we are seeking and doing. As we said earlier, COVID-19 slowed down that operation to a point, due to the fact that the pandemic slowed down employment. It closed down so many parts of society that we were used to. And many folks who are looking at life from a negative point of view were plunged into despair. But even though COVID-19 as an epidemic impacted our lives, in every life situation there are silver linings. There are some good things. Yes, there was a lot of sickness and death, but COVID-19 showed us the importance of family.
Wow.
And how essential it is to love and honor and respect and care for your family, because it also showed us that life was short. COVID-19 also showed us that many of the things that we place so much value in had no real value. When you look at material things, clothes and cars and brand names, what did that mean when everything was closed down? And you couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't go to a restaurant or to a movie or to a bar. You know, just all the nice things you had, where were you wearing them to? I mean,
that's good.
How important was it? It also showed us that the lives that we were building and the relationships that we value were the most important part of our lives, and that many times our jobs that we thought was so important and so vital is secondary to our existence. For many people, that 40 hours a week is their life, and they live for the work. But for many people, you could do that same work at home.
Right.
So how important was that building you go to every day that you thought had so much importance in your life, if you could do the same thing in front of your computer or in other ways? So it made us readjust our thinking as to how we live as a society. And once you start questioning how you live, you begin to envision how you could do it better. For folks who are coming home from prison, who are not used to the structure that we hold so dear, they have a chance to rethink how they re-enter the world. And I think that Fresh Start is going to be very powerful in that way because we're trying to craft a new way of looking at life. And that's important. It's important for ourselves. It's important for those who we love. It's important to our wives and our kids,
That's right.
whom we made so many promises to on the phone and in letters and in the visiting room. And we said, this is how it's going to be when I come home. You know, all those things that happened before are no longer going to function like that. This is also a time in our life when politically and socially, the world has changed so much. Who would have thought that the police would be murdering people so regularly that the protests, such as the protest for George Floyd, would sweep the entire country, that students and citizens and folks of all races would rise up and say, this is what matters in life, and this doesn't. So the world is rapidly changing as we observe it. So are we going to be a part of that change, or are we going to sit back and be observers? It's important for us to be proactive in our own lives, in the lives of our family, and in the lives of our community. And one thing I really want to say before this broadcast ends is how important it is for us to vote. Tomorrow is the election, and this is an election that is unlike any election that we've ever witnessed. It is a clear position of different styles of rulership and different ways that we should be governed. And as returning citizens, we've earned the right, by virtue of serving our sentences, to have a say in how our lives go. And that's why voting is so important for those who can vote. And in New Jersey, you can vote now. Pennsylvania returning citizens can vote. There are only 18 states in the entire country where you can walk out of a penitentiary or prison and cast your vote for how you're governed. And if you're blessed to live in one of those states, you have to exercise that right.
Wow.
So I hope that so many returning citizens are registered to vote and are going to plan to vote tomorrow. And if you're not registered, listen to us about how important it is to really be a citizen. When you're incarcerated, you lose the rights to citizenship. You lose your freedom. You lose the ability to vote. The ability to have gainful employment and to take care of your family. So as you move from an incarcerated state and you're now formally incarcerated, you should become a returning citizen. And that means you are returning to the responsibilities of what it means to be a citizen. And that means to be law-abiding, to take care of your family,
That's right.
to respect society, and to choose how society runs. And that's the power of your vote.
Come on.
That's good.
Now, that's definitely something that he touched a lot of points with, and I love the fact that what the library is doing. Now, I want to add something real quick before we do end this. All right, so everybody knows that this is G3TV. You know, one gathering, two guide, three generations. Clearly, we've been talking a lot about, you know, men and women that were incarcerated, men and women that were, you know, chose alternative lifestyles and are trying to come back into society, returning citizens, like these gentlemen have said. But this doesn't just affect their lives. You know, this thing that we're doing and this collaboration between us is not just to affect the lives of the men and women who are coming home. Jondhi said it becomes about family.
That's right.
It becomes about the whole generation. You know, 3 generations. This is going to affect the parents. It's going to affect the kids, and it even affects the grandparents as well.
Yes.
You know,
Major.
Along with the voting. You know, I'm not want to make it about politics, because at the end of the day, there's so many different beliefs and reasons that I'm not here to go there, with anybody, but it is important to vote. It is definitely important to vote. It's definitely, by the time this airs, the votes will be casted already.
Right.
But it is definitely important. Now, for the younger generation that's like, oh, well, this doesn't pertain to me. This doesn't have nothing to do with me. You're wrong. Had I been home, and doing the right things in life before, and not to say anything, my kids are amazing. My kids have grown up to be some amazing kids, and doing some amazing things, but not by my hand. It was their mother. I give their mothers all praise and glory. Their mothers did wonderful jobs in raising them. But it's not the mother's responsibility to teach my son how to be a man.
True.
It's not the mother's responsibility to take on the role of both parents.
That's good.
That's right. And it's time that we go ahead and stop doing things like that. It's time, as men, we take the lead position that we were ordained to be a part of. You know what I'm saying? And this is for the kids. This is the reason why I said it affects the kids as well, because you are going to be the future. Alex said it perfect. You guys are going to be the next generation. You are going to be the parents. You are going to be the leads of the home. You know what I'm saying? So how we are today can be a reflection of what you want to be better than later.
True. Straight like that.
So at the end of the day, the mistakes I've made, the mistakes these men have made, and it's funny, think about it like this. You're looking at three men in three different walks of life. I was a drug dealer. I was a gang member. He was a bank robber. You know what I'm saying?
and other things.
And other things, right. And Alex was military.
Military.
And a pastor.
And a pastor. Now, you know what I'm saying? Three walks of life. And somehow we've come together. You know what I'm saying? And we're here doing things to give back. Not just to the communities, not just doing an outreach, because this is not just about an outreach.
Let's go.
This is about human beings,
That's
life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, on that note, I want to thank both you gentlemen.
Thank you
for being with me here tonight. I want to thank you guys for doing what you're doing in the communities. You know what I'm saying? In each of your platforms, it's truly amazing. And if anytime I can go ahead, whether it's here, I'm about to make a plug real quick, whether it's on this show here, or if it's on His Hop Radio, the Light of Violence, or if it's actually just part of Gangsters Going Godly, any social media platforms. Now, those are all my plugs, you know what I'm saying? So I'm actually wanting you guys to tell where these, how people can reach out to you, because even though a lot of these people are incarcerated, and some of them in the South Jersey area will get to see this episode because it will air on their TV.
Okay.
Channel 22 on Comcast. But for the ones that are throughout the whole state that won't see the South Jersey channel, there's families that are watching.
That's
and
right.
we'll go ahead and actually ask, man, between social media, there's no way listen, I got people right now going to watch last episode all the way in New Orleans. Come on now.
Hey, now. Come on. Shout out to y'all. God bless you.
So, at the end of the day, listen, tell them where they could reach you guys, how their families, once these people come home, can point them in the right direction to you.
Well, you know what? I'm just gonna go straight up with it.
Look into the camera.
You can reach me. I'm gonna give you my email. alexby@cclnj.org. That's my work email. If you need help with credentials, resumes, I don't care if you're from upstate, you're down here, central, whatever. If you need help with a resume, send it. Send your information. Send all your job history, send all that. I'll get something together for you. If you're just trying to make contacts, you're trying to find resources, please reach out to me. You can also contact me at 856-453-2210, extension 26107.
Okay. Jondhi?
And we are first started at your library, and you can go onto the New Jersey State Library website, and all our information is there. There are maps of each county and addresses where we are. We have two amazing social workers, Nicole Warren, who serves North Jersey, and Sarah Swiderski, that serves South Jersey. And if you're in Philadelphia, we just also moved the Philadelphia Free Library is now part of our First Start at Your Library. And I'm also associated with the TCRC Community Healing Center, and that is a place where we do weekly food pantries every Friday from 9 to 1 at 3609 North Broad Street in the heart of North Philadelphia, and we feed over 6,000 people a month.
Wow.
It's important that we not only talk about how to move things forward and find jobs and housing and show people what they should be doing. If we can provide food for your family, that's even more important, because that's a tangible
That's right.
way to say, these are the good works we're doing.
Right on.
We're not just talking about the work, we're doing the work.
That's right.
And feel free to reach out to us at any time. We believe that Fresh Start is not just a program, it's a culture, it's a way of life. And we are very proud to partner with Gangsters Gone Godly and spread this message all over the country, because everyone who's ever done time deserves a fresh start.
Come on.
And I wanted to just save it for the very end. I just wanted to say, all of you that have youth out there, all you youth, all you kids, should you find yourself free on a Friday night, 7 o'clock, you can find us in Vineland, at the Hub Vineland. We have Wi-Fi, we have hotspot. If you're in high school or in middle school, we got something for you. Come on out, have a good time with us. We play games, we get into the word, and we have just a time of chilling, man. It's just kids coming together being kids, so don't shy away from that.
Yes, sir.
You're more than welcome to come join us.
Yes, sir. Trust me.
And
Okay.
let me give my business phone number. My Fresh Start Cell Library phone number is 609-847-9829. Hit me up. That's how accessible we are. You got my cell phone number.
Come on now.
Come on. And I'll go ahead and actually, for those that want to reach out to these two gentlemen, and this information will be, once it's all edited and everything, on the screen as well. But if anybody needs to connect with them, either in the South Jersey or Philadelphia area, or even in North Jersey, and want to connect with someone down here, you can reach me. You guys know how to reach me through all social media platforms. Gangsters Gone Godly. Google me. Just Google Gangsters Gone Godly in every single avenue to get in contact. You have my phone numbers to reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to connect you with these two men and the organizations that they represent. Truly, again, honored to have you guys here today. I can't wait to see where this is going. This is going to be something amazing. Also, I want to add on November 14th in Philly, in North Philly, we'll be at McPherson Park, also known as Needle Park, for the Celebration of Life Philadelphia edition. We're going to be doing donations.
We'll be there to help.
And my man's definitely coming out there. So we're going to be giving out clothes, giving out food, cleaning up the park, haircuts for free, taking care of people, because those are all people that are in need. So check out Facebook, check out Celebration of Life Crusade, Kingdom Vision Tours. You know what I'm saying? Pastor Alex said it. Check out the Wi-Fi on Friday nights, hotspot. Right. Truly amazing. I'm honored to say that my family, my nieces, are being blessed by this man and his wife, Pastor Blake. They're the leads of the youth.
Shout out to wifey.
Yeah, shout out to the wife. You gotta give shout out to the wife. But yeah, definitely it's truly a blessing. Again, Anything that Jondhi is a part of, trust and believe Gangsters Going Godly is going to support him 100%. And all of you that know me know I do not, and I repeat, do not attach my name to just anything just because.
Come
you know
on,
what I'm
man.
saying?
Come on.
I only attach my name to the righteous, and this is righteous. You know, amen?
Peace.
All
Amen,
right.
amen.
So, again, thank you guys for joining in tonight. Check you out on the next episode, and have a blessed night. Thank you, man.